Welcome back. I hope you're getting into these podcasts. Today, I'm going to be talking about adversity. In my subject line, I had wrote that, talking about success and talking about failure. And, going out through my day to day and explaining to you what's happening is how I face challenges, what I deal with, and just kind of helping you. Maybe something I do or say might help you get past the point, whatever your problem is, and get you to a place where you can actually start living in the solution. And what I want to talk about adversity is you get adversity for a lot of different reasons. Now, I don't want to go down too far down the funnel, but I really want to mention that there's adversity that you just can't control. Illness, financial things, that certain things happen, the market goes bust and you're out. Really have to kind of look at all this from I guess like 30,000 feet. And there's a lot of people that are hurting out there. There's a lot of people that are going through some major problems. The point of this podcast is to help you get through the best way I can say it is get you through that little hurdle, that little obstacle, to get you unstuck from being comfortable complaining or worrying or wanting, and get you to the point where you start taking action. And case in point, so I had all these problems that I was faced with, and one problem after another. And when I say one problem after another, it was like the worst failure cycle I could have ever imagined on myself, because most of my life I didn't do the things that I needed to do, which was pay attention, to be aware of my surroundings and see what's going on and see what adversity is coming my way, just to really get a pulse on what's going on in my life. I just wasn't paying attention. And in doing so, what ended up happening to me was these problems kept getting bigger and bigger, and I wasn't even aware of what was going on. So what I did was I applied myself, like most people do, I applied myself more into my work. I would escape my problems by hiding somewhere else. Sure enough, then when problems at work show up, when I got problems at home, now I got financial problems, so they just start to compound. And you kind of get the idea is that when these problems start to creep up, it gets overwhelming, but there is a way out. And the way out is relatively simple. And all the time that I spent in therapy, it really came down to the solution to all of my problems was me. Not to sound cliche, but it truly is how I interpreted my problems. I heard a lot of people say, a lot of people that I've read their books, and one of them comes to mind right now. I'm just totally ad-libbing. Is Robert Kiyosaki, and the problems that you face are there to help you. I'm totally paraphrasing, by the way. The problems that you face right now are in a way to help you prepare for the greater and bigger challenges that you're going to face, so that you can, in fact, be successful. So what's funny is, and I'm going to go with Steve Jobs' thing, is that all of these things that were happening, the marital problems, the work problems, the addiction problems, the medical problems, the kid problems, all of those problems that were happening all about the same time, they all compounded, and it kept getting worse and worse for me. And what I really decided to do was I decided to quit. And I know there's some people out there that are thinking to themselves, there's it. If you're listening to this podcast, I want you to hang on. There's hope. There's help. I'm telling you, man, you just got to hang in there. And when I say by hanging in there is I look back 13 years ago to where I was at and these problems that I wasn't dealing with. Finally, in therapy, I learned something. I learned about the cognitive behavioral triangle. And if you're in the medical world out there, you really need to kind of take a look at that. And everything that I was doing in my life was based on emotion. Now, emotion is great, like passion, happiness, joy, that stuff's great. But when you start to negatively, when a situation or stimulus happens to you, like, for example, a spouse cheating on you, rather than react negatively, is like, think about it. It's like, how did it get to this point? Is it worth saving? Can you get past it? Personally, at that time in my life, I couldn't get past it. I blame myself for it. Not the other person, I blame myself, which is even worse. And things that like this happen. And so in doing so, what I did is I dealt with adversity by ignoring it. And it wasn't until I got into therapy, deep therapy, and started to realize all these addictions and behaviors and all the lack, that my problems were completely overwhelming to me. So the only way that I saw out was through the medication that the psychotherapists were giving me, and quit following in the therapy and just end it. So I chose that, but it didn't work out. As you know, as I'm here today now talking to you about problems and adversity. But what I found out on my long road back is that no matter how bad things get, they're a gift. Those problems are an absolute gift. You can even reduce it to something that's so unimportant, like, for example, a sales goal, going to work on time, working out, being kind to your kids, listening to your kids, getting off the phone when they ask you to, or then you should, spending the extra time in the areas that you need to. Those are the things that really you don't think they matter, but they matter so much. So if you're wanting success and if you're thinking about yourself, well, man, I'm too far down the pipe, I got too much adversity, there's other people that are worse off than you. What I found out was this, from my point of view. When I started focusing on doing the right thing, the next right thing happened. I didn't have to solve all my problems in one day. I just had to solve one problem to get to the next problem, to get to the next problem. And it was effing hard. 10 years of my life were, I would say on the borderline of poverty. And I really mean that. I'm not trying to say that there's, living in my car or anything, but there's a couple of times it was closer. I did for a few nights. But I got to the point where, based on my decisions and my actions, I wound up in a place that, quite frankly, was very unforgiving, and I had to pay the price. It's pretty tough when the IRS is coming down on you and you have bank levied accounts and child support and all those things are building up and you have extreme medical debt and you just can't get out. But when you deal with the adversity by doing the right thing, like, for example, go to work, be the best employee that you can possibly be, or be the best manager that you can be, just go in there with gusto. Because with the right attitude and mindset, you can actually turn the situation around for that minute and that moment. And if you get enough minutes and enough moments built together, that adversity in time will go away. I used to tell my mom all the time when I was dealing with my problems instead of not dealing with them, I used to say that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I just can't see it yet. I believe that for you, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I believe you need to hang on. Maybe your situation's not that dire where you're trying to figure out how to end it all. And if you are, you need to call and get help right away. But if you're dealing with, I would say, life's problems, and you're in that position where you really want success, my failures, all of them, when I worked on my failures just to get to a point where I could survive, I kept doing them to the point where all of a sudden, not only was I surviving, but I was starting to be successful. And when I committed to the no comfort zone mindset, this program that I developed, when I actually committed it over a 60-day period, it was so magical on what happened at the end of the 60 days. Because what I did over the last 10 years after my accident, after my self-induced accident, when I got out of the coma, what I did was I actually just focused on surviving, on making just enough, on providing just enough, showing up just in time. And I want to say that, yeah, it was a long and very hard road, and I didn't need to do that. But when I got to the point where it was time for me to actually, another stage in my life, I think this was at after 13 years after the coma, what I did was I just decided to intensify the no comfort zone plan. And I actually wrote it all out. I organized it. I put it into a document, and I decided to follow this small steps throughout the day with a ton of intensity and a lot of activities over 60 days with the intention of helping everybody around me. Fascinating results. What I mean by fascinating, I accomplished more in 60 days than I have in 13 years. And that's why I'm doing this podcast right now today. And that's why I talk about success. And I am totally capable and allowed to talk about failure because I failed more than anybody, probably failed more than you. But you don't need to go that far down the pipe. You don't need to deal with an addiction like I did. You don't need to deal with unemployment. You don't need to deal with breakup of your family. You don't need to deal with all the severities of inaction or apathy. You can actually turn things around right now before it gets to that point. And that's what the no comfort zone is. It's those minutes and those moments where you find yourself in a really comfortable situation where I can hit snooze, it's no big deal. I could balance my checkbook tomorrow. I can show up to family dinner a little bit late, or basically I can cut out a little bit early from work. I don't need to make this phone call. That customer doesn't matter. You know what? I'm not going to go run into this thing because I might see somebody there that I don't want to see. All that stuff's comfortable. You're hiding. It really is truly time to get out of your comfort zone and start living on purpose with the intention. Hey, you don't have to want to do everything in your life, but if there's some purpose behind it, some connection needs to be made, and if it's just the right thing, you need to step up and just do the right thing. Because I'll say it time and time again, when you do the right thing, the next right thing happens. So, talking about adversity today, I want you to know this. It's a gift. Deal with the adversity by taking a small action. And hey, I'm going to jump back a little bit here. In the morning, the first thing you need to do, write out what you're grateful for. Man, if you have no teeth in your mouth, if you got one tooth in your mouth, you need to smile like there's nobody business because you still got to smile. You might not have any teeth in it, but you still got to smile. And the coolest part about this is when you go out throughout your day with a bunch of gratitude, you've got a bed to make, you've got a car to sleep in, you've got money in the bank, you've got an opportunity to earn money, you have an opportunity to get in a relationship. You have all these choices. And when you continue to focus on the end result, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm grateful for, and you just stay the course, that's congruency, that's character, that's ethics. If you want to be successful, you have to do what successful people do. And dealing with adversity is one of the number one things you need to do. Another podcast, I talked about the 90-10. 90% of your energy goes towards living in the solution, 10% goes towards living in the problem. Check that episode out. I have no idea where it's at, but I did post it out there somewhere. And I'm going to keep coming over with these things and ideas and these situations that happen in my life. So maybe, just maybe, it might help you deal with yours. Thanks again for tuning into the No Comfort Zone. It's a reality check. I've had many reality checks in my life, and I'll tell you what, you don't need to have so many reality checks. You just have to take those minutes and moments seriously, live with intention, and persevere through it. So check me out on the nocomfortzone.com. I'm getting a calendar put up there if you want to schedule a call so we can talk about it, put a plan together, get my blueprint in front of you, maybe even find out if we can work together, because I do believe this. I believe if you get out of your comfort zone that you can live a life on purpose.